Hello everybody, we're now about a month away from our first trains on the 12th of April. So here's a quick update of things to look forward to for the 2021 season. Before we look at 2021, I thought we'd just look back briefly over our last year in 2020, which was obviously one of the most unusual and challenging years in the railway's history. There's a lot of positives that came out of this. We overcame huge challenges in order to operate in a COVID-safe way. And in doing so, we attracted nearly 50,000 visitors, makes us quite possibly the busiest heritage line in the country. Obviously, finances were a fairly significant element last year. By opening, we generated around about £850,000 worth of revenue, which meant that at the end of the year, in terms of management accounting, we were basically at a break-even position, and then having spent about £100,000 worth of capital expenditure. So in terms of cash, the railway is roughly £100,000 less in cash than we were last year, which on one hand, yes, that's been challenging and disappointing. On the other hand, it's usually much better than we thought we would have been at one point. The fact we got open, we generated revenue from visitors was much appreciated and made us in a much stronger position than we might otherwise have been. Other great news is that our visitor feedback was also outstanding in many cases. You only have to look at the TripAdvisor comments and the like, or just speaking to visitors around the site to see how much they appreciated the effort that had gone into make the railway run in a safe and timely way. So in summary, yeah, a difficult year for everybody. Thank you to everybody that has helped us get through 2020. There's loads of positives which we can use for our season ahead. So in terms of how the season might look like, as I recall this, we're currently still in lockdown, volunteering still limited to those essential jobs, but as we get closer to reopening, those essential jobs become important. There's lots of things that need to happen to get us reopened. So at the moment, the next milestone might be from the 29th of March. That's when the official lockdown ends. People are allowed to leave home for all sorts of different reasons, and that's helps us to unlock more volunteering opportunities at the railway. We also have our training and test chain on the 31st of March, which we hope many volunteers want to come down to the railway and get involved that day. So the next key landmark is stage 2 of the government's roadmap, kicks in on the 12th of April, which will be, fingers crossed, our first train of the season. That's a nice timely moment for the railway because that's exactly our 50th anniversary, the first trains running at Haven Street back in Easter 71. So we're doing all we can to open on that day and mark the occasion properly. Now at that stage we expect Train Story to remain shut, but our cafe open for takeaways and the shop open. This will then vary into stage 3 of lockdown, release on the 17th of May, when we should be able to open all the remaining indoor settings, including Train Story, and be allowed to offer sit-down seating in the cafe. It's worth stressing through both those points that COVID restrictions will still be in force. So social distancing, the requirement for masks in buildings, all those kind of things that we've lived with through 2020. We've got a good system that works. We'll be continuing to do the online booking with reservations for individual compartments through that period. All being well, stage 4 of the government roadmap kicks in on the 21st of June, and at that point, hopefully all social distancing measures are lifted. And at that point, we're assuming that we will move to a system whereby some people can book online for a reserved compartment, where there'll be other unreserved carriages for give us greater flexibility for walk-ups. The system of reserving carriages has been really positive, a lot of really great feedback from visitors, and we hope to keep that going in some format. But equally, we recognise that we need to get more people onto each train to give us greater flexibility. So we'll be working a hybrid system from 21st of June onwards. So obviously 2021 is very exciting in that it's our 50th anniversary celebrations. Some few things to look forward to here. So as I mentioned before, our 50th anniversary falls exactly on Monday the 12th of April. We'll be celebrating that day with 24 Kelbourne, recreating the original train shuttling to and from Woodhouse Crossing. with the original 3 bogie carriages that form that first train. For a change, the 4-wheel stock will be providing the main service train that day. A biggie event for us is the anniversary gala over the 4th, 5th and 6th of June. That's probably going to be our biggest celebration event this year. We're excited that the Island Terrier Knoll, or Bembridge, is coming across from the Kent and East Sussex Railway. That's going to be with us for about 3 or 4 weeks. So during the gala we'll have 3 original Island locomotives in steam, and there's lots of other exciting things happening, from photographer specials, our early morning newspaper train, model railways happening, talks going on. So lots happening that day, and we hope lots of volunteers will want to come and volunteer or visit the railway during that weekend. In other stuff, we also have some guided walks happening along disused railway lines. You should, if you remember, look forward to a 130-page booklet which will be sent to you free with your next edition of IRN. We also celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Smallbrook Extension in July, which we'll do as a volunteer event later in the summer. There's also new events that aren't connected to our 50th anniversary, so here's a few to pick out. Our first is the Young Engineers Day. If you've got a child or a grandchild, you might have come across Chris Fine's Peter's Railway series. He does several of these events around the country. I saw one run at the Ravenglass and Eskdale Railway, which was really good. So basically we've nicked it and brought it to the railway. A really good event for those aged perhaps sort of 7 till 12. I'm sure we'll get a lot out of that. In June we have our Terrier Weekend. That's making good use of Noel's visit over from Kent and East Sussex Railway. In July we have the Highland Island Gathering, so that's a third-party event run by a separate group, but essentially they're taking over the events field for all sorts of all things Scottish, with some dancing, bagpipes, music, you name it, it'll be there. Again, a big event that's taken place at another venue this year, or in previous years, so we're happy that's coming to the railway this year. Should bring a lot of extra visitors. Later on in the summer, we have our summer concert on the 31st of July. Again, that's another external event run by the Isle of Wight Symphony Orchestra. They're delighted their usual venue's been out of bounds, so they're delighted they're coming to us to play this summer. In September, our 1960s weekend will take place. So it's a combination of train action on the line and music around the station. The plan for that weekend is to have both our Ivets in service, and the idea being that we'll temporarily, for that one weekend only, rename and renumber them, working on the basis of what might have been had they been transferred to the island in the 1960s. Should be lots to say, live music around the station as well, which should be a good atmosphere for everyone. And then finally in November, the Race the Train event takes place. Again, you might have seen something similar has been done at the Talaclyn or the Festiniog Railway. So again, we're bringing that to the Isle of Wight. The idea being that we'll take everybody up from Haven Street to Wootton by train, and there's a 5k run back. The challenge being to get back in time before the train arrives, which will go via Smallbrook. So some other what's happening and what's new this year. We've been busy, or the estates team have been busy in particular, refreshing the booking office. It's had a good coat of paint inside and out. As I speak, they're fitting new windows at the front with microphones and speakers, so booking clerks will be able to talk to customers. Over the last 2 days, we've also installed the new EPOS tills and printers, and earlier this month our broadband connection was upgraded, which fingers crossed should improve both the speed and reliability of the connection to the booking office. There's quite a number also of changes to our online system behind the scenes, which should make it an awful lot easier for visitors to book from Smallbrook and Wootton, and also allowing members and season ticket holders to book online as well. I remember last year that all had to be done by phone, which was rather cumbersome. We're also in the process of moving the membership database onto Merac, the idea being that in future members can turn up to the booking office and swipe their card rather than hand over paper vouchers, which again should simplify the admin considerably. Train story, the big news, well, new development for this year will be the arrival of the Class 483 unit. That we're expecting that sometime in April, and the plan is for that to sit in Road 5 behind the Pollard tram. There's a team already working on the interpretation, both the display panels and videos that will go inside that, and that will develop over the next few years, I'm sure, to be a very popular exhibit inside Train Story. We're also currently refreshing all the floor graphics in the entrance lobby and up the steps, which should make entrance to Train Story even more inviting. So moving on to some of our commercial plans for 2021, I've talked about some of those with our new events. But understandably, finances are going to be a big thing this year. Key aim is to get our finances back on track, refill some of those coffers that we spent last year. I think there's lots of grounds for optimism. I think 2021 could be a very busy year. There are not going to be many people travelling abroad, so the Isle of Wight looks like it's going to be a very busy destination this summer. One of our key aims is to increase our revenue per head. Facts behind that is we're probably limited to how many more passengers we can take, certainly with restrictions on social distancing in place for the start of the year. But by generating more per visitor, we can really make a big difference to our finances. And there's no quick win on that. It's lots of little things that all add up to make a difference. So here's a few things we're going to be doing this year. Number one is just about increasing our prices, which are going up roughly £1 per head on average. Our online adult price now becomes £14.50. And to my mind, we shouldn't be at all embarrassed about charging that. The Isle of Wight Steam Railway is a first-class attraction on the Isle of Wight. If you compare us with what other places charge, whether that's Osborne House, Carisbrooke Castle, Blackgang, Robin Hill, many other places, I think we're good value in comparison with those. So we should be rightly proud of what we offer and shouldn't be at all embarrassed by what we charge. Second thing is to get our first-class compartments back on sale. During 2020, we kept things simple and didn't have those on sale at all, but by adding them back in, that's another opportunity for visitors and to get more revenue per head as well. 3 is about selling guidebooks. At the moment, we actually sell very modest numbers of these. Say in 2019, we only sold about £10 per day on average. We've got that up this last summer, but I think there's still opportunity to do more. The attraction I was working at in the Lake District, our target was 25 to 30% of visitors buying a guidebook, which can make a difference if it all adds up. And we may not get to quite that level, but I still think there's opportunities to do more on this. Number 4 is about our first-class experiences. We launched those in summer of 2020 with fantastic feedback from those that tried it. We've already got good bookings going ahead for 2021. And it means we're generating more revenue from that customer. There are certain people that really do want to splash out, celebrate a special occasion, and we're really well equipped to do so. 5 is about increasing capacity on our trains. Just by adding 6375 back into the bogie sets, for example, that increases our capacity by 10 to 15% on that train, as does adding the push-pull sets when we can onto the 4-wheel train as well. Again, it's just more seats and our ability to carry more people. 6 is about catering spends, and for very understandable reasons, this is where we took a bit of a hit last year with our limited offer in Cafe and Tea Junction. If we can just get that back to where we were in 2019, that makes a huge difference. And the team are working really hard with new menus, new approaches in the cafe in particular, focusing a little bit more on our hot meals, which we're hoping will make quite a difference to where our revenue per head is in catering. 7 is gift days, and I can't underestimate understate how important gift aid is to the railway. In a typical year, well over £100,000 worth of money is generated through gift aid. It's one of the most beneficial aspects of people booking online. Although we charge slightly cheaper prices for booking online, virtually everybody that books online pays gift aid, which makes a massive difference. So just being aware of those booking clerks, promoting gift aid where we can do so, and also encouraging people to book online will make a big difference to gift aid as well. Number 8 is about keeping visitors on site longer. And you might think, what's that got to do with commercial? The answer being that if people stay on longer, they spend more. They spend more in our ice cream kiosk, our T-junction, our shop, and our cafe. And that ultimately adds up to quite a difference over a year. So things we've tried to keep people on site. Obviously, over the years, we've added more attractions, whether that's train storing or Haven Falconry. Moving forward, we're still very keen to launch our daily short talks in the station yards and carriage and wagon, possibly train story as well. It's something we tried to get underway in 2020, but COVID put a pay to. We also have a new children's trail where younger visitors can go around the site looking for the railway folk characters. And lastly, I think the key thing for revenue increasing that is just having that sense of quality everywhere through the railway. We know that if people see quality, they're prepared to pay more for it and they feel justified in their spend. And we're normally really good at this. Our railway is well presented, we have friendly people, our rolling stock carriages are immaculate, and overwhelmingly the impression that our visitors get when they go away from the railway is positive. I picked out a few examples there of some of our rougher edges, hopefully few and far between, but we know we have some, and I think it's one of the challenges over the next years ahead to always be really good at this, iron out those rough edges and make sure we always present every aspect of the railway in its very best, which I hope is what everybody in the team wants to do as well. A few more updates for you before I close. Firstly, just to note, those of you who are members, that we've moved our annual general meeting and members day to Saturday the 17th of July. That's mainly so that we can hold a physical meeting of more than 30 people at the railway. That's a normal running day, so unusually we're going to be open to the general public, not just for members. The AGM itself will happen in the events barn, we think, with trains going on as normal on the railway. And it should be quite a fun day because our real ale train will be running in the evening, and we're hoping some members will want to stay for the AGM and then stay on into the evening. Next one is about hops. Hops is becoming more and more important to the way we run our railway. It's basically now the requirement from the ORR that we use a system like hops to manage our team, our infrastructure, our assets. We're already making really good progress with that, but increasingly we're going to use hops for all manner of different tasks at the railway, which we're still working through. On a practical level, can you please go onto hops and make sure that your contact details are up to date? We still have lots of emails that come back and bounce, or if your address is moved, please make sure they're up to date so we have up-to-date contact details for you. We'd also ask that you add your date of birth. In some cases it's not essential, but however, if you are in a safety critical role, that is essential. There are certain things that, for example, medicals that kick in at certain ages, and having an accurate date of birth for you is essential if you're in one of those roles. You can also check your competency record. That's the number of turns you've done and any assessments, and make sure that's up to date. It should be, but if you spot any inconsistencies, please talk to either Clive, the operating manager, or your relevant head of department. On first aid, a major task over the last winter has been to restock all of the first aid boxes. We had many around the site, and it would be fair to say that a number were in very poor condition with out-of-date stock and were rather tired and dog-eared. In the process of that, we've actually withdrawn a few of the first aid kits. Certainly we've had duplicates. The idea being that it's much better to have a set number of first aid kits that are well stocked and reliable for use all the time. So please check that you know the location of first aid kits. If an accident does happen, you do need to obviously do first aid as appropriate, but then do need to fill in 2 bits of paper. One is the accident report form, which needs to be completed for every accident, please, and also complete one of the accident books. There's 4 around the site. So please, if you see an accident or you have one, please make sure that both of those elements are recorded. One of the nice things last year is we had very few accidents recorded on site, which is very encouraging. We do wonder though whether that's some under-reporting of accidents, that things that happen and never been reported. So please do fill in the appropriate paperwork if that's required. And that's it. Thank you very much for listening to this update. I hope you have a great season ahead. We're looking forward to a fantastic 2021. There's lots of positives to look forward to, whether that's seeing Calbourne in steam, the return of the Rye Pier tram, or celebrating our 50th birthday. So I hope you look forward to coming to the railway. I hope to see you all soon, and we'll get trains running again soon. Thank you very much.